So I'll speak on the Palani Murugan Temple, which is close to Madurai and Coimbatore, apparently. It is close to Coimbatore actually, but also close to Madurai. It is a Kartikya, Skanda, Subramanya Temple, and it's a very old temple, though the current structure seems to be not that old. It's a very old temple, and historically there was a Chera king, which means he was a king from Kerala who restored and refurbished the temple. That was almost 1,000 years back. And the murti is facing also towards Kerala, unlike most of them. So there is still that connection between there is a whole mythological story as to why this particular temple of Kartik is so powerful. It is not a story known in the north of India, it is a story known in the south of India. So now that story has become a little popular, but the story goes that Narada got a Jnanaphalam, he got a fruit of wisdom, very literally. He concentrated it into a fruit, and then he decided that it's nice to have a Jnanaphalam, but let me have some fun with it. So he went to Shiva and he told him that anybody who eats this will have the Jnanaphalam, he will have the concentrated essence of wisdom. So now they have two children, and he set it as a very clear condition: you cannot divide it. It must be given. It must be given whole. Otherwise they will have only partial knowledge. So the Shiva and Parvati set up a contest, and they say whoever can go around the world first 3 times, we will do the pradakshina of the whole Bhudevi, So Murugan, that is Kartikya, he gets on the peacock and starts. And Ganpati thinks about it, and then he decides that this is Jagat Janani Jagadeta Pitre, This is the mother of the world, the father of the world. So he just does pradakshina 3 times around them, and he gets it. They give it to him. So when Kartikeya comes back, he gets very angry, saying that this is the typical partiality. He always had that issue, that there was partiality towards Ganpati because he was odd and cute. He was also very cute. It's actually quite strange how this Ganpati has become associated with Parvati, because classically it is always Somaskanda. It is always the Parvati, the mother and the child is always with Skanda. It is only recently that Ganpati has become the divine child. Otherwise it was always Skanda was the divine child. So I guess this story is a sort of mass mind acknowledgement that Skanda is getting displaced and Ganpati is becoming important. So in a huff, he leaves. He says, I'm leaving this place and I'm not coming back. You guys stay in Kailasa and be happy. And he goes as far away as possible, which is the hill of Palani in Tamil Nadu. There are some other stories associated with it, that the hill was actually set there by Agastya told one Rakshasa to carry 2 hills as counterweight, because all the Devas had gone to Kailasa to see the wedding of Shiva and Parvati, and so that was causing the world to be unbalanced. So Agastya had told this Rakshasa to set these 2 hills in the south as counterbalance, and then years later he remembered, I have taken them and put them down there, we must send them back. So when the Rakshasa tried to take it back, he saw this form of a boy on top, and that boy was refusing to move, and because the boy was sitting on the hill, he couldn't pick it up. and he even knocked him down. Then Agastya had to intervene, and he figured out this is Skanda in his angry form. And he's Dandayuttapani, which means he is carrying the staff, not the staff of authority, the staff of renunciation. So the way the murti is made, he is only in langot, kaupina, and his head is shaved, because when you enter into that path of spiritual practice, the first thing you do is shave the head. So other than Tirupati, this is the other place in the south where people shave their head. Men and women, they shave their head as offering. And he is in the brahmachari mode. So he stays there. Then Parvati comes searching for him, and she tells him that your hot temper has always been the problem. The thing is, in the yogic tradition, it is well known that Skanda is one of the great masters. He is so great that he is called the Swaminatha Swami. Swami is usually Shiva, and he has taught Shiva. He has explained the meaning of the pranava. He has explained the meaning of Om to Shiva himself. He is that great a yogi. So what she tells him is, you just flared up for no reason because you felt partiality. But the truth of the matter is, what are you going to do with a Jnana Phalam? Phalam ni. You are the fruit of Jnana. All the things that people are doing sadhana for, it is to attain you. It is to attain your level of understanding and your level of your stature, your yogic position is what everybody is. So you are the fruit of all this striving. Phalamni. That phalamni over time got corrupted into Palani. Palani. So it is called Palani. But he was still in a huff, so he refuses to go back, and they have very cute little tradition where from some other temple, Shiva and Parvati come to visit their son every year, because he is still sulking. Well, there is now place for the brother and everything, but basically the Skanda people are still little upset with Kartikeya, with the Ganapati. But the point is, this place always used to puzzle me a little bit, because he is in a renunciate mode, and it is the most famous and powerful temple of Kartikeya ever. It is regarded as the peak, the pinnacle of Kartik temples, Skanda temples. It is one of the great temples of Tamil Nadu. It is one of the great temples of South India. And it did not, because if a temple is famous, there are obvious reasons, why. And the form seems very strange. It's a Dandayuttapani, it is a brahmachari, almost like a boy. And so I never understood why this has this kind of reputation, or why this has. But when I went there, I understood that the sheer power radiating from that place is so immense. So then, when I went there, I got to know all the other stories. That the murti, the actual vigraham of Skanda that is in worship, is not a vigraham of metal or of stone. It has been specifically created out of 9 poisonous substances. Navapashanam, 9 poisonous substances that was made into a paste, and then the paste was made into a form of about 3.5 feet high or 4 feet high, a boy, and then it was allowed to solidify. Actually, 8 substances were the form, and 1 substance was the catalyst which caused it to. So it's supposed to be 9 poisonous substances that, when mixed together, proved to be exceedingly potent in healing. So a large part of the reputation of Palani is that if you get the Charnamrit, or you get the Abhisheka water, and they do Abhishek with all glorious, they pulp multiple fruits and all that and pour it out, and you get that as Abhishek in the milk. That's very healing. All kinds of diseases are cured and everything. So that murti because of the fact that it's actually paste which has, the lepam. In Ayurveda it is understood that you put lepam, you put the paste, you spread it over, and the paste hardens. All paste hardens when evaporation happens. But even the murtis in temples are set in paste first. There is a paste, they make that base and they set the murti into the niche there, and then over time that hardens. That is called vajralepam. It is like adamantine paste. So it takes about 1 year, 2 year. If you go when the paste has just been applied, it is soft, squishy. You can put your finger impression in it. Go after 2 years and it's literally indistinguishable from the granite. But it's actually a mixture of herbs and stuff. It's an organic mixture that has hardened into, and then there is apparently a solvent. There is one particular different kind of mixture you pour on it and the whole thing dissolves. But otherwise it is next to impossible. I mean, visually and even from a tactile point of view, you cannot distinguish it from rock. The lepam, the vajra lepam is. So then of course when I went there, I found out that, for me it is always very important to know who consecrated, who did the sthapana, who created this place and who created the kshetram, who consecrated, who put the main murti, who started the puja vidhis. So it was one of the great siddhas, Siddha Boganathar, who's like let's not even talk, the siddhas of South India are beings from another dimension. So there's a lot of material about him on the net. Most of it is just fantasy and delusion. That he went to China, he was actually Laozi, he came back from China and he apparently managed to become physically immortal by swallowing some magical alchemical pill, and all those are of no consequence. The fact is, Siddha Boganathar understood that this certain kind of energy is present in the hill, which is a Skanda energy, no doubt, a Kartikeya energy, no doubt. How to make use of that for the everybody, and so you need to create a murti. So apparently he called a conference of all the other siddhas, and he asked how to make the proper kind of murti, and then they collectively arrived at the fact that you need to use the Navapashana, you need to use the 9 kinds of poisonous substances and you need to mix them together. So the murti is correctly regarded as rather strange because the face is very detailed, the ears are somewhat larger than normal, the rest of the body is a little crude. The finish is not very good. So he personally created that, he consecrated it and he started the puja. Now this is supposed to be at the beginning of Kali Yuga, which is for almost 4,000 or no, more than 4,000. It would be about 6,000 years back. It's quite possible. And the story is, the myth is that he actually made 9 because his calculation was that over time this will wear away with all the puja and the abhishekam, and whenever one dissolves, another one will arise, another one will be discovered. In 2004, they apparently decided that the time had come and they tried to make another Vigraham and they even installed it, but the pushback from the faithful was so great that they had to stop it. Now I learnt all this only after going to the temple, and I still hadn't done the main darshan because we were waiting for the Uchakala, the noon puja. So, young friend of mine, Varun, he very kindly took us there, and so we went to the place where Boganathar had created a support sort of kshetram, a supporting thing. Here he made a lingam of emerald. The entire lingam is carved out of emerald, and the minute I stepped into that place, I knew this is from something else. This is the kind of quality of person who made this is something else. And it's not just a Shiva lingam, it's a Shiva Shakti lingam. In fact, on the lingam they don't put the Tripura Danda, they put the red dot of the Devi, so that the Shakti Kundalini aspect vibration is very strong, and it is a sort of He's created it as a separate power center for those who want to meditate or those who want to just, it's a stabilizing force for the rest, because the actual murti is, what to say, it is lepam, it is paste, it is 9 poisons, but it is all fire. I have never seen a place with fire tattva like this. It is just most incredible thing. Now he is very closely connected, even his birth, the fiery Bijam of Shiva was carried by Agni, it went into the Ganga, all those stories are there. But just at a basic level, when you enter into a kshetram, when you enter into a temple, you know the quality of the tattva, you know what tattva is there, and it was fire beyond anything. It was fire. It was the most extraordinary. And see, over there he doesn't have the Shaktis, he doesn't have Valli Devyani, he doesn't have the feminine principle, he doesn't have the active principle. He is just by himself, and still it is the most powerful. You would expect it would be one of the temples where he has both the Shaktis with him or something like that, or where he is in a. So even though he has been shown as a Dandayuttapani, and that was the form, or that was the aspect of Skanda, by the way, that Ramana is supposed to be the incarnation of. Ramana is supposed to be the avatar of the Dandayuttapani form, the spiritual striver. So in all respects, it should have been a very obscure kind of temple, known only to the hardcore yogis or something like that, and it should not have spun out like this into one of the great power centers of the world. So it was bewildering me. I just couldn't figure out, like, the Rupam is not a Rupam that particularly appeals to people. The Rupam is not, though over time they have started creating Raja Alankaram. They dress him up as a king all the time, usually with an Ushnisham, a turban, a very fancy turban, and sometimes with a kiridam, a crown and all that. That has become popular because, people of course always prefer to see abundance and power and all that, which is all fine. I still didn't, you see, when you previously you had to climb up. It was a long climb, about 1500 steps you had to climb up. It would take you 2.5, 3 hours. Now there's a ropeway and stuff. So we went up by the ropeway, we didn't have to do the climb. And as soon as you are up the ropeway, you can feel that there is power from that place. But you see, if the power is dependent on the Rupam and what the Devta, the form of the Devta, what it can give to people, then that is understandable. Tirupati Balaji, what it gives to people, that is understandable. Or Chidambaram Nataraja, what it can give to people, that is understandable. The Rupam has a certain quality. In this case, the Rupam should be a withdrawn Rupam. It should be something that takes people into solitude and not into, but that's not it, crowds all the time. So anyways, I said, whatever is the thing, and just waiting for the puja and everything. So when the time came for the puja, we went in, and then I saw the way it started playing out, because they are working with all the tattvas. They are working with earth, water, fire, akasha, and air, and there is, when the puja starts, one person, like a bard in the royal court, he is constantly chanting. That chanting never stops. And there's some mantras done inside also, it never stops. And they do lots and lots of abhishekam naturally. Just like it is a Shivalingam, they just constantly bathing and bathing and bathing. That is the water chakra, and really remarkable things. And they do a lot of alankaram. They put a lot of different kinds of clothes, different kinds of dresses. So when we went in, he was in the turban, the Raja Alankaram, and then, after a few processes, they put him into the kiridam, they put him into the crown. And they use flowers. They use flowers, which is the earth element. And they use a lot of flowers. And all the people who paid for the afternoon puja, they come out holding it in a big silver basket, and everybody touches. So it is like we are a self-offering. And there are certain gradations. Some people only can go up to a certain tab, and only the main pujaris can go right inside. There are certain gradations. So, and it's, a lot of the stuff is done behind a curtain, and the chanting is continuing, and then they'll suddenly yank the curtain out, and each time they do that, It is like this explosive release of Shakti into the atmosphere. God only knows how many thousands of years the puja has been done there. So each time they do that process and then they yank that curtain aside, it just comes out in this. You are hit by some kind of rocket, or I don't know what the kind of Shakti is released into the atmosphere, and the whole area, in fact, the whole area around is consecrated. And the Abhishekam and the forms and all that is fine. And then there is one section where they start doing the most incredible thing with fire. Almost from the floor to the ground, lamps are just lit and blazing. And the entire dwara, the entire doorway has got lamps in niches, and they light all that up. So the whole dwara, the entire liminal spot, the gateway between one level of consciousness and the other, is just blazing with Agni. And they spring all this upon you completely by surprise. So when that curtain is pulled aside, all you can see is this wall of fire. There is just Agni everywhere, and not just Agni because of that Agni, because of that ignition of the Agni, there is this wave. It's like this wave of Akasha Tattva flowing out. So those who can take it, man, the kind of blessing that is available there is, unparalleled. Those who don't understand, or those who are not in yoga, they'll say, oh, how beautiful. And yes, it is very beautiful. Visually it is fantastic, but who cares about the visual? The sheer impact of what is being done. And I was like, the Siddha yogis of South India are beyond belief. The Siddha yogis of South India, they just do these procedures and they leave it, and anybody who is, it's like 20-30 years of sadhana are done in that one blast. 20-30 years of lifetime karma at least goes, even if the sadhana, just one eruption, and then they don't stop there. After they've created this whole fire, this thing where you can only see Agni, everywhere you can only see Agni, then they start doing chakra by chakra, they start doing various things with different kinds of holders and different kinds of flames. Oh man, it was like how are people sitting here so calmly and processing this? How are people, can't they see the sheer incredible nature of what is being done? They are literally holding that and they are doing a dance. They are doing like a mystical dance with the flame. And they're drawing certain symbols, and the chakras are not being activated Muladhara upwards. They are being activated in some very spontaneous or very old ancient method. But each chakra gets a different container and a different kind of activation. And that murti, the way it glows and the way it sends out power, like no wonder people are coming here. Whether they can consciously appreciate or they can't appreciate, they can feel it, they can sense it. Because of the nature of the substance. You see, that murti had a feel that is completely unique, because it's not wood, it's not metal, it's not stone, it's none of the normal substances. It's paste. It's actually organic substances which has been very cunningly solidified. How it is done, don't ask. All that only the rasayana, the alchemy of India knows how to do those things. Nobody else can pull off that kind of stuff. Okay, plaster of Paris. But that's not. So when they do that, when they do the activation of the chakras, and then they close the door again, and then they do one more little final abhishekam and then they pull it out. By the time the puja is over, if you are in any ways capable of receiving Shakti and have the capacity to receive Shakti, every single circuit board inside you is blown. It is beyond belief. It is beyond capacity. I have never seen, we have been in Chidambaram, we have seen what happens when they do the puja in Chidambaram, but in Chidambaram it's always on. It's just like you step past the main gateway and you are bathing in the Kshetram of Akasha. And over there also the issue is not how much can you take, but how much can you process, or how much capacity do you have to take. It's different here because here it comes in these extraordinary concentrated bursts, I'm like, how does a person create a process like this? Forget it. Once the process is in place, all you have to do is follow. You have to follow the instructions and it will be done. It's so beautifully managed that even if the person doing it has no idea, it will still flow out. How does somebody like Siddha Boganathar sit and do that? How do you figure out that if you work with Earth Tattva this way, Water Tattva this way, Air Tattva, the Air Tattva is a constant chanting, and the Fire Tattva, you play with it in this manner, and that's it. The whole environment is flooded with Akasha. Those who want to use it can use it. The whole environment is just flooded with Shakti. Those who want to just access it, access it. They say that Siddha Boganathar, after doing all this, he handed it over to his main disciple and then he withdrew into some secret cave apparently somewhere in the mountain, and he's sitting over there and waiting for things to play out. Quite possible, I don't know. I'm not interested also, because for me this was, I have seen many temples, I have been to many evening, and yes, in all temples there is release of Shakti when the puja is happening. The noon puja, evening puja, when they open the door, and that is the purpose. When you open the door and it's all lit up and illuminated, there is this beautiful flow of Shakti out. But this is different quality. This is a different level and a different dimension. So that question as to why this place became so powerful, and it's almost like people have no clue, but they are just helplessly drawn towards it. It's just drawing everybody. It's just, it was the most extraordinary experience in life. Nowadays I'm not shaken so easily, because I'm quite capable of processing what is there. I'm quite capable of receiving. And, Chidambaram was one experience and this was another experience, I must say. Because this was a completely unexpected and completely beyond belief level of power was manifesting. And the fun was the working with the, that he is the great yogi, he is the master of the pranava, he is the master of the Om, which means he is the greatest yogi. Nobody can be greater than the yogi who understands the Om or has mastered the Om. So, the way in which the transforming Shakti comes, that is what Palani, that is why Swamis, of course, Swamis of South India always swear by Palani. And now I understand why. That Palani is like a huge blessing that Boganathar did. You just go and do darshan regularly and you are making giant forward leaps in your sadhana. But just in terms of how you come back, how in terms of everything in you is aligned, and your mind is stilled, your emotion is stilled, and you just come back in this complete state of integration. It was quite an extraordinary thing to experience. And because it is done in this fiery manner, it is not done in a calming, soothing, let's calm everybody down and let's, everything is at 100% full blast intensity. And in that intensity, they are doing this extraordinary transmission. So, it is, I think if you go there, you will get initiated, Diksha will happen. He will just initiate you into some spiritual process. You have come, okay, here, blessing. Start. It was, which is why it's, there are so many Subramanya temples, all great and powerful. Why everybody goes crazy about Palani? because the nature of the man who created. There are so many Shiva temples. Why Chidambaram? Because Patanjali. There are so many Muruga temples. Why Palani? Because Boganathar. The quality of the man who sets up the place and sets up the system and sets up the transformational possibility over there, and God knows how long this has been going on in Palani. It was that kind of Shakti. Maybe it's good that the average person will never process that amount of Shakti. The capacity to even comprehend that amount of Shakti is coming at you, maybe beyond the average person. But for a person who's really connected to that Guru Kshetra or even to the Guru Tattva, my God, what a place. It completely bewildered me. Somebody actually made something like this. They actually created a system and a setup so that it can flow in this manner. So, Palani, everybody should go at least once in life. It should not be missed, That experience should not be missed. The sheer splendor and the sheer magnificence of what is being done over there, it should not be missed. It's a great pity that Skanda worship is almost dead in all parts of India. Just Tamil Nadu and parts of Kerala, it's just barely hanging on. Tamil Nadu, it's very robust. Kerala and other parts of South India is just very. If this is what it can give you, then more people should worship Skanda. More people should do Muruga. Sarvam Shivameyam.